My wife filed for divorce, thinking she could take everything I had. What she didn't expect was me finding out she'd been cheating for 8 months. The moment I learned the truth, I hired a lawyer and completely destroyed her plan. Can you imagine spending 13 years building a life with someone, only for them to try and completely destroy you and take everything you've ever worked for? My wife did exactly that. But what she didn't know was that I had a forgotten secret weapon, and when I unleashed it, her whole world came crashing down. My name is Daniel, and I'm 40. Before all this, life felt pretty good. I built my collision shop from absolutely nothing. 9 years ago, it was just me, a rented bay, a borrowed frame machine, and a dream my own dad thought was stupid. I worked 16-hour days, every single day. I learned paint mixing, dealt with insurance adjusters who always seemed to treat us like we were trying to scam them. But I pushed through. And now? 6 bays, 8 employees, contracts with 3 major rental car companies. My shop was thriving. Even today, I still show up every morning, usually with grease under my fingernails. Heather, my wife, loved to tell people she supported my dream back when we were eating ramen noodles and I was maxing out credit cards to buy equipment. Funny thing is, once the money started rolling in, her version of support looked a lot more like yoga classes, expensive designer bags, and exotic trips with her friends. And honestly, I didn't mind. I worked hard, she spent it. I figured that's just how it went once you finally made money. You made your wife happy. Then came that Tuesday. The text message hit my phone at 2:40 p.m, "Don't come home tonight. Papers are being served at your shop tomorrow." I stared at my screen. 13 years of marriage. And my wife was ending it via text message, like she was canceling a Netflix subscription. The papers arrived the next morning. 45 pages. It wasn't just divorce papers, it was a full-on war declaration. Heather wanted everything. The house, both vehicles, half my business, spousal support for 6 years because, get this, she'd sacrificed her career. That last part actually made me laugh out loud. Her big sacrifice was quitting her retail job 8 years ago, back when my collision shop first started doing well. Since then, her job had been spending money. Yoga classes, designer bags, weekend trips. I called my older brother, Isaac. He'd been doing family law for 15 years. "She's going nuclear," Isaac said after flipping through the petition. "Claiming you were emotionally absent, that she needs major support. This is scorched earth stuff." I asked if she could actually get all of it in California. "Maybe," he replied, grimly. "If she plays this right and you don't fight back, she could walk away with half of everything. The business valuation alone is going to hurt." Heather had shown zero interest in my business, ever, except to ask when I'd be home for dinner. Now she wanted half its value. I asked Isaac what I could do. "We fight," he said. "Show she's lying about the hardship stuff. But honestly, Daniel, unless you've got something big, this is going to cost you a lot." I hung up, staring at the papers again. Something felt off. Not just the divorce itself, but the timing, the way she'd done it, her absolute lack of hesitation with those demands. Heather was a lot of things, but spontaneous wasn't one of them. She planned everything. Vacations, dinner parties, furniture buys. She color-coded her closet and kept spreadsheets for household expenses. She didn't just wake up one day and decide to blow up our marriage without having every single detail figured out first. Which meant she'd been planning this for a while. Beth, my shop manager, knocked on my office door. She's the only reason things stay organized when I'm elbow deep in a frame straightening job. "Daniel, Terry is here about the insurance estimate, right? The fleet account that pays half our bills." I shoved the divorce papers into my desk drawer. I had to focus. Whatever was going down with Heather, I still had a shop to run. 8 employees counting on me. Customers expecting their vehicles back. I couldn't let my marriage blowing up destroy everything else. The meeting ran late. Terry wanted to talk about expanding our contract, which should have been great news. Instead, I kept checking my phone, half expecting another bomb from Heather. By the time I got out, it was past 7. I drove to the house and used my key. Dark, empty. It smelled like her perfume. I walked through each room, looking for anything that might tell me what was going on. Her closet was half empty, clothes gone, but everything else still there. Photos, jewelry, books, like she was coming back, or had left in a rush. Her home office was locked. That was new. I grabbed a screwdriver from my truck and popped it open. The office looked normal at first. Then I noticed her laptop was gone. Her external hard drive was also missing. I opened her desk drawers, bills, receipts, old birthday cards. The bottom drawer was stuck. I yanked it loose and found papers shoved way in the back. Credit card statements for an account I didn't even know existed. $42,000 in charges over 8 months. Hotels, restaurants, jewelry, spa packages for 2. I sat on the floor, surrounded by papers, trying to wrap my head around it. Heather had always been super careful about finances. This was a secret account I'd never heard of. My phone rang. Unknown number. Some woman confirming a deposition for next Tuesday. Settlement conference in 5 weeks. Heather was trying to rush this. I called Isaac. She's trying to push this through fast. That's weird, he said. Usually when someone's in a hurry, they're scared you'll find something, or they need it done before something changes. Like they're planning to remarry or hiding money. Daniel, you need to start digging. I looked at the credit card statements around me. Yeah, I'm getting that vibe. That night, I stayed in her office, going through every paper I could find. By morning, I had a pattern. Hotel charges every other Thursday. Restaurants every Saturday afternoon. Jewelry buys lined up with my out-of-town tow jobs. She wasn't just planning to leave. She'd already been living a whole other life. And she'd left a paper trail. I showed up at Isaac's office at 8 a.m., looking like absolute garbage. His assistant took one look at me and went to make coffee without me even asking. Isaac read through the statements. This is good, but we need to prove what the spending was for. Hotels alone don't prove she cheated. We need proof of who she was with. Then he paused, looked up. How do you remember your prenup? I blinked. We have a prenup. You signed one 3 weeks before the wedding. Dad made you do it after Mom's divorce. You were mad as hell. I'd totally forgotten. What does it say? He pulled out the paperwork. Page 7, Section 4. If either person cheats, the one who got cheated on keeps all their stuff, and the cheater gets nothing for spousal support beyond personal items. Heather's SUV is in both our names. Then she gets nothing. If we can prove she cheated. How? I asked. Phone records. Can you get them? We pulled them up. Heather's call history showed one number popping up 53 times over 8 months. Blake. Real estate agent, age 34, married with 2 kids. Isaac was already typing. Let me see what else I can find on him. You should check social media. Blake's social media was locked down tight. Privacy settings on everything. But his wife's wasn't. Hannah had a public account, full of family photos and mom stuff. I scrolled back through 8 months of posts. Most were typical, kids at soccer, date nights with Blake, complaining about parent-teacher conferences. Then I found it. A post from 5 months ago, anyone else's husband suddenly working late every Thursday. At this point, I should just start having wine by myself. The comments were full of other wives relating to it, but it was the date that got me. Every other Thursday. The same pattern as the hotel charges on Heather's credit card. I showed Isaac. We need to talk to Hannah. No, he said, sharply. You need to stay away from her. If Heather's lawyer finds out you contacted the other wife, they'll say you're harassing her. He stopped. But, there might be another way. What way? You remember April. April. Heather's best friend from college. They'd been tight for years until some fight about 8 months ago. Heather had said April had gotten toxic and jealous after Heather's life turned out better. I'd never gotten the full story. What about her? If Heather was cheating, April might know. Those two used to tell each other everything. And if they had a falling out around when this affair started, April might be willing to talk. Isaac nodded. Worth a shot. But you can't approach her directly. Too obvious. You need someone who can feel her out, see if she knows anything, and if she'd help. Who? What about my wife, Nina? Nina and April used to do yoga together. She could reach out, catch up over coffee, see what happens. Nina's basically a ninja in suburban mom form. If anyone could get information without being obvious about it, it was her. Do it, I said. For the next 3 days, I lived in controlled chaos. During the day, I ran my shop like nothing was wrong. At night, I camped out at Isaac's house, going through financial records and building a timeline of Heather's affair. Because that's what it was. Not just suspicion anymore. Every piece pointed the same way. Heather had been seeing Blake for 8 months, spending money I'd earned on hotel rooms and expensive dinners, planning her exit while I worked 70-hour weeks to keep everything going. What burned the most wasn't even that she cheated. It was how calculated it was. Heather hadn't left because she fell out of love or we grew apart. She'd been testing out her replacement, making sure she had somewhere to land before she bailed. Except she'd forgotten about the prenup. And now that screw-up was about to cost her everything. Nina called on Thursday evening. Got something? April's at a coffee shop downtown. She's ready to talk. April looked different than I remembered. Thinner, sharper. She was sitting in a corner booth at some place downtown, and she didn't smile when I walked in. You look terrible, she said. Thanks. I sat down across from her. Nina said you needed to talk about Heather. I'm guessing it's not for marriage tips. When did you two stop being friends? I asked. About 8 months ago. Right around when she got serious with Blake. So she knew. How much do you know? April stirred her coffee, not looking at me. Enough. I told her it was stupid. Told her she was throwing away something good for some midlife crisis thing. She told me I was jealous and bitter because my marriage didn't work out. I'm sorry. Don't be, I said. I was jealous. Your wife had everything, and she threw it all away because some real estate guy gave her attention. She finally looked up. Why are you here, Daniel? Heather filed for divorce. She's trying to take half of everything, but I found proof of the affair. And we have a prenup that kills her claims if she cheated. Good, April said. She deserves it. I need proof. Do you have anything? She paused for a minute. Yes, I think I do. She pulled out her phone and scrolled, then turned it to face me. The photo showed Heather and Blake at some restaurant I didn't recognize. His arm was around her waist. Her head was on his shoulder. They looked like they'd been together for years instead of months. When was this? I asked. 4 months ago. We were supposed to have lunch, just us. She canceled last minute, said something came up. I went to the restaurant anyway. Saw them together, took the photo. That's when I stopped talking to her. Sure, I said. I looked at her. You were waiting for this. I knew she'd mess up eventually. Heather's always been good at planning, but terrible at covering her tracks. She thinks she's smarter than she actually is. What else do you know? Blake's wife doesn't know. He's been telling her he's working late on deals, building his business. Hannah's clueless. She posts these happy family photos on social media while her husband's meeting your wife at hotels every other Thursday. I need to ask you something, I said. If this goes to settlement, would you testify, or at least give a statement? She didn't hesitate. Yes. We talked for another hour. April had more than just one photo. She had text screenshots from Heather bragging about expensive gifts Blake bought her, details about their plans to eventually get married once both divorces were done, even info about a trip they'd taken to the coast while I was at a towing conference in San Francisco. Did she mention the divorce plan? I asked. All the time. She had it all mapped out. Blake's lawyer friend helped her figure it all out. That explained the rushed timeline. Blake's lawyer friend, some guy named Dylan, works at a firm downtown. He's the one who told Heather she could clean you out if she played it right. I texted Isaac right away. Find out everything about a lawyer named Dylan who works with Blake. By the time I left the coffee shop, I had enough to blow Heather's case apart. Photos, text screenshots, testimony from a former best friend, plus the prenup she'd forgotten about. Isaac called as I was driving back to the shop. Dylan works at a firm downtown. He's Blake's college buddy. And guess what? He's the one who sent Heather to her lawyer, Meredith. They set this up together. Looks that way, I said. Blake wanted out of his marriage without losing money. Heather wanted out of yours while gaining money. They've been coordinating their divorces. Can we use that? I asked. If we can prove their legal teams were working together, absolutely. But Daniel, this is getting messy. We need to file a response to Heather's petition, and we need to do it smart. If we show our cards too early, she'll have time to change her strategy. What do you think? We file a basic response. Don't mention the prenup. Don't mention the affair. Just a standard denial of her claims and a request for fair distribution. Let her think we're going to fight this the normal way. Meanwhile, we gather every piece of evidence we can find. Settlement conference is in 5 weeks. We make our move there. Hit her with everything at once. I like that, I said. Let's do it. The next morning, I went back to the house. Heather had changed the locks. My key didn't work. I called Isaac. She locked me out. File a police report. Then an emergency motion for property access. The police report was filed by noon. Emergency motion by 2 p.m. By 5 p.m., I had a court order saying Heather had to give me access. I showed up at her mother's house. Heather came out looking exhausted and pissed. I held up the order. You need to give me a key. She grabbed the paper, read it, threw it back at me. Fine. She got a key, handed it over without a word. One more thing, I said. My lawyer wants to schedule a deposition. We'll be asking about credit cards, spending patterns, relationships with other people. Her face changed. A flash of panic. What credit cards? The $42,000 in charges. Those credit cards. I walked away. Let her panic. Let her wonder what else I'd found. The game was changing, and I was about to flip the board. The settlement conference was scheduled for a Monday morning. Heather's lawyer had been pushing for quick resolution, sending more and more aggressive emails about reasonable settlement terms. Isaac had been politely saying no to all of them. 3 days before the conference, Isaac called. We need to talk strategy. I left Beth in charge of the shop and drove to his office. He had everything laid out on his conference table, the prenup, the credit card statements, April's testimony, phone records, everything we'd gathered over the past 5 weeks. Here's how this plays out, Isaac said. We walk into settlement with all of this. We don't negotiate. We show them the prenup, show them the proof she cheated, and we give Heather exactly one option: sign a settlement that gives you the house, keeps your business intact, and sends her home with $5,000 for moving expenses and her personal stuff. Her lawyer's going to fight. Her lawyer's going to realize she has no case. The prenup is solid. The proof is overwhelming. If they push this to trial, Heather will get destroyed. She'll walk away with nothing and owe us legal fees. What about Blake? I asked. What about him? I'd been thinking about this for weeks. His wife, Hannah, doesn't know. If Heather refuses the settlement, I want to make sure Hannah finds out. Isaac looked at me. I can't officially tell you to contact Hannah. He paused, then smiled. But unofficially, if I were you, I might mention to April that Hannah deserves to know. And I might suggest that April, as someone who cares, might want to reach out. April already offered, I said. Then you're all set. Monday morning, I showed up at the mediator's office in the cleanest work shirt I owned, carrying a folder full of evidence. Isaac was already there, looking ready for battle. Heather showed up 10 minutes late with Meredith, her lawyer. She looked put together, confident. The mediator, a woman named Barbara, took us into a conference room. Let's start with each side presenting their position. Meredith, you filed the petition. Would you like to go first? Meredith pulled out her notes. My client is seeking fair distribution of marital assets, including the family home, vehicles, and partial interest in Daniel's business. Additionally, we're requesting spousal support for 6 years to allow Heather time to rebuild her career. Isaac opened his folder. Before we talk about distribution, I'd like to present a document that was signed before the marriage. He slid the prenup across the table. Both Meredith and Heather leaned forward to read. I watched Heather's face go white. When did Heather started? 13 years ago, Isaac said calmly. 3 weeks before the wedding, you both signed it in front of a notary. It's a valid prenup. Meredith was reading fast, her face changing from confused to worried. This limits distribution based on misconduct during the marriage. Specifically, cheating. Isaac agreed. If either person cheats, they lose claims to spousal support and property division beyond personal items. You can't prove, Heather started again. Isaac laid out the credit card statements, phone records, and April's photo. $42,000 in secret charges. 53 phone calls to Blake. Documented dates at hotels and restaurants. Multiple witnesses ready to testify. Should I continue? The room went quiet. Heather looked like she wanted to sink through the floor. This is harassment, she finally blurted. You've been stalking me. I've been documenting your spending using joint financial accounts I'm legally allowed to access, I said. My client needs time to review these documents, Meredith said. Of course, Barbara, the mediator, said. Let's take a 15-minute break. Heather and Meredith left the room. Through the window, I could see them having a heated conversation in the hallway. She's done, Isaac said quietly. Meredith knows it. When they came back, Heather wouldn't look at me. My client disputes the timeline and context of these allegations, Meredith said. However, in the interest of resolving this quickly, we're willing to discuss a settlement that doesn't involve long litigation. Meredith looked at Isaac. We're willing to drop spousal support in exchange for a more fair distribution of the marital property. No, Isaac said. No. Here's our offer. Daniel keeps the house, his business, and both vehicles since they're titled jointly. Heather gets $5,000 for moving expenses plus any items that are just hers. She signs a release giving up all future claims. That's it. Heather made a sound like she'd been punched. That's insane. I'm not signing that. Then we go to trial, Isaac said calmly. Where a judge looks at the prenup and the proof of your affair. Where your affair partner's wife gets subpoenaed to testify. Where all of this becomes public record that anyone can see, including future employers who might want to know why you're last. Divorce was so messy. You wouldn't. Meredith held up a hand. Can we have another moment? This time they were gone for 30 minutes. When they came back, Heather's eyes were red. She'd been crying. We'll agree to the settlement, Meredith said quietly. With one change, Heather keeps her personal vehicle, and the settlement payment goes up to $10,000. Isaac looked at me. I could have pushed. Could have held firm at $5,000 just to twist the knife, but I was tired. And honestly, getting my life back was worth $5,000. Agreed, I said. It took another 2 hours to finalize everything. Heather signed without looking at me. When it was done, she walked out without a word. Isaac and I sat in his car afterward, neither of us talking. How do you feel? He finally asked. Like I just survived a car crash. Fair. But you survived. Yeah. I looked out the window. Now what? Now you rebuild. She's out of your life. You kept your house, your shop, your future. That's a win. It was a win, but it didn't feel like winning. It felt like I'd wasted 13 years of my life, and I'd spent 5 weeks fighting for survival. And only now was I realizing how exhausting it had been. But I'd survived. The first night alone in the house was weird. Empty. 13 years of shared space. Suddenly just mine. I walked through each room, checking what Heather had taken and what she'd left. Most of the furniture was still there. She'd taken her clothes, some photos, her jewelry, the expensive kitchen stuff she'd insisted we needed but never used. But the house itself was intact. I ordered food and ate in front of the TV like I was in college again. Just me. Leftover Chinese and whatever was streaming. My phone rang. It was April. How'd it go? She asked. We settled. She's out. Good. She deserves worse, but I'll take it. Hey, I wanted to say thanks for the testimony. I didn't end up needing to testify, but I would have. Heather had this coming for a long time. Can I ask you something? Why'd you really help? We barely knew each other. April was quiet for a second. When my marriage fell apart, Heather ghosted me. Just completely disappeared from my life. I realized she was never actually my friend. She just liked having someone around to make herself look better. When Nina reached out about helping you, it felt like a chance to do something decent. Be the friend Heather never was. Well, I appreciate it. Sure. Hey, if you need anything, let me know. I will. Thank you. After we hung up, I sat in the silence and tried to figure out what came next. Isaac called the next morning. Paperwork's filed. Judge signed off on everything. It's official. That fast. You'd be surprised how quick things move when both sides actually agree. Congrats, you're officially divorced. Doesn't feel real yet. How are you doing? Weird, but fine. Good. Listen, Nina wants you to come over for dinner this weekend. Actual food, not whatever bachelor garbage you're eating. I'll think about it. I spent the next few days in a weird limbo. Work during the day, empty house at night. My crew at the shop noticed something was off, but nobody asked. Small blessing. On Thursday, April called again. So I did something. What did you do? I reached out to Hannah. I sat up straight. You what? Relax. I didn't mention you. I sent her an anonymous message with info about Blake and Heather. Photos, dates, everything. She deserved to know what happened. Check Blake's social media. He's been posting weird stuff about life changes and new beginnings. Word is Hannah kicked him out. I pulled up Blake's account. Sure enough, his latest post was some garbage about how endings are really beginnings. The comments were full of concerned friends asking if he was okay. Good, I said. There's more. Hannah's lawyer apparently filed for divorce yesterday, and she's not playing nice. She's going for full custody and maximum child support. How do you know this? I have friends who know people. Portland's not that big. Point is, Blake's life just got very messy. What about Heather? Haven't heard anything. But if Blake's getting divorced now instead of later, their whole plan just fell apart. She probably thought they'd be together once both divorces were done. Now he's fighting a custody battle, and she's single with no job and no money. That's their problem, I said. Work was the escape. At the shop, I could focus on frame measurements and paint matching and insurance estimates instead of my demolished personal life. Terry called to finalize the expanded fleet contract, which would add another $500,000 in yearly revenue. Small wins. Beth knocked on my office door one afternoon. Daniel, there's someone here to see you. She says it's personal. I looked up, confused. Who? She said her name is Hannah. Hannah was in her early 30s, dark hair, wearing jeans and a blazer like she'd just come from a meeting. She looked exhausted. Daniel, I'm sorry to show up at your work. I didn't have your personal contact. It's fine. Have a seat. She sat in the chair across from my desk, hands folded in her lap. I got some information recently about my husband and your wife. I wanted to talk to you about what you know. How did you find me? The information I got mentioned Heather. I looked her up, found your name, figured out where you worked. What do you want to know? How long have you known? About 5 weeks. I found credit card statements and phone records. Started putting things together. And you divorced her. The settlement was finalized a week ago. Hannah nodded slowly. Blake told me he was working, building his business. I believed him. I was home with our kids while he was. She stopped, pulling herself together. I'm filing for divorce. My lawyer says I have a strong case for custody. I'm sorry you're going through this. Are you? Yeah. I know what it's like to have your life blown up by someone you trusted. It sucks. The woman who sent me the information. Do you know who that was? A friend. Someone who thought you deserved to know. Tell her thank you. After Hannah left, I sat in my office staring at nothing. Heather had destroyed multiple lives chasing something she thought would make her happy. Now everyone was picking up pieces. That evening, Isaac called again. You're not going to believe this. What happened? Blake just filed a complaint against his lawyer friend Dylan. Claims Dylan gave him bad legal advice and that Heather's settlement sets a precedent that screws him. His words, not mine. So Blake's suing the lawyer who helped them coordinate their divorces. Yep. And Dylan's firm is reviewing whether to drop Heather's lawyer, Meredith, as a referral partner. This whole thing is turning into a legal mess. Good, Daniel. You won. You can let this go now. I am letting it go. I'm just enjoying the show. 2 months later, I was at the hardware store buying paint when I saw her. Heather. At the checkout counter, trying to return a bunch of expensive decorating stuff. The clerk was shaking her head, pointing at a no returns policy sign. I almost left. Could have ducked out the side door and avoided the whole thing, but something made me stay. Maybe wanting to watch karma play out. Maybe just wanting to see what her life had become. She looked different. Tired. Wearing sweatpants and an old college hoodie I remembered from years ago. Nothing like the polished, put-together woman she used to be. The clerk was still saying no to the return. Heather's voice got louder. I have the receipt. These are unopened. You have to take them back. Store policy, ma'am. Home decor items are final sale. That's ridiculous. I need this money. She stopped when she saw me. Our eyes met across the store. For a second, neither of us moved. Then I walked over. Hey, Heather. Daniel. Her voice was flat. What are you doing here? Shopping. You? She grabbed her bag of rejected returns and walked toward the exit. I followed, not sure why. Outside, she turned on me. What do you want? Nothing. Just saw you and figured I'd say hi. Well, you've said it. Bye. She started walking toward the parking lot. I kept pace. How are you doing? I asked. I'm good, she snapped. Where's Blake? Her face hardened. None of your business. That bad, huh? Go away, Daniel. Does he know you have nothing? That you lost the settlement? She stopped walking. Did you come here just to gloat? No, I came to buy paint. But since we're talking, yeah, I'm a little curious how this all worked out for you. You destroyed everything. Heather, you filed for divorce trying to take everything I owned. You spent $42,000 on an affair. You locked me out of my own house. All I did was remind you that actions have consequences. Blake was supposed to, she stopped herself. Supposed to what? Leave Hannah. Take care of you. Let me guess. His divorce didn't go the way he planned. His wife took the kids. She's asking for full custody and massive child support. His business is tanking because Hannah's telling everyone what he did. He can barely afford his lawyer, let alone, she stopped again. This isn't your concern. So, he dumped you. Heather's silence was confirmation enough. Funny how that works, I said. You blew up our marriage for a guy who couldn't even stick around when things got hard. You don't know anything about it. I know you made choices. You could have talked to me. Could have said you were unhappy. Could have ended things honestly. Instead, you lied, cheated, and tried to steal everything I'd built. Now you're mad that it didn't work out the way you planned. I don't need a lecture from you. You're right. You don't need anything from me. Have a nice life, Heather. I walked back into the store, bought my paint, and left out the side door so I wouldn't see her again. Driving home, I realized something. I didn't feel angry anymore. Didn't feel bitter or betrayed or any of the stuff I'd been carrying for weeks. I just felt tired of the whole thing. She had made her choices. Now she was living with them. Isaac called that evening. Heard from Meredith's office. They're dropping Heather as a client. Why? Conflict of interest. Dylan's complaint names Meredith as someone who helped give bad legal advice. Her firm's protecting itself, so Heather has no lawyer. Yep. And since the divorce is final, it doesn't matter. But if she tries to modify terms or file any new stuff, she'll need new representation. She can't afford new representation. Probably not. I thought about her at the hardware store, trying to return decorations for a life that didn't exist anymore. Do we need to worry about her trying anything? Like what? The settlement's solid. She has no grounds to challenge it. Unless she wins the lottery, she's not hiring another lawyer to fight a battle she already lost. Good. The house slowly became mine again. I repainted the bedroom, bought new furniture that I actually liked instead of what Heather had picked out. Got rid of stuff that reminded me of her. It was therapeutic in a weird way, erasing traces of a life that hadn't been real for months. April called sometimes to check in. We'd become accidental friends through this whole thing. She'd invite me to group dinners or weekend hikes with her other friends. I usually said no, but sometimes went. You're allowed to have a life again, she said one night over coffee. I know. Do you? Because you're acting like you're still in crisis mode. I'm just busy. You're avoiding. There's a difference. Maybe she was right, but I wasn't ready to deal with that yet. Life was slowly getting back to normal, or at least a new version of normal. It was lonely sometimes, but it was also peaceful. 4 months after the divorce was finalized, she showed up at my shop. Beth buzzed my office. Daniel, your ex-wife is in the lobby. She says she needs to talk to you. Should I send her away? I should have said yes. Should have told Beth to show Heather the door and block her from coming back, but curiosity got me. Give me 5 minutes, then send her in. I wiped the grease off my hands and straightened my desk. Whatever this was, I wanted to be ready. Heather walked in looking worse than I'd ever seen her. She'd lost weight. Dark circles under her eyes. Clothes that didn't fit right, like she'd borrowed them from someone else. Thank you for seeing me, she said quietly. What do you want, Heather? She sat down without being invited, hands folded in her lap like a kid about to confess to breaking something. I need help. I waited. Then I asked, I thought you were doing good. Her face hardened. No, I am not. I'm living with my mom. I can't find work. Nowhere will hire me because there's a gap in my resume, and I can't explain why without bringing up the divorce. I'm broke. The $10,000 is gone. I have nothing. Okay. Okay. That's all you have to say. What do you want me to say? What does that have to do with me? I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but Daniel, I'm desperate. I need money. Just enough to get an apartment and get back on my feet. 13 years have to count for something. I stared at her. You're asking me for money. I don't have anyone else to ask. What about Blake? Her face crumbled. He won't talk to me. His divorce ruined him. He's paying massive child support, and his business is failing. He blames me for it. Shocking. Don't. What? Point out that you destroyed multiple lives chasing a fantasy that fell apart. I know I made mistakes. Mistakes? You didn't make mistakes. You made choices. She was crying now. I'm begging you. I have nowhere else to go. Then go to your mother. Go to your friends. My friends won't talk to me. My mom can barely afford to feed herself. I've burned every bridge I had. Then build new ones. That's not my problem. How can you be so cold? I leaned back in my chair. You want the truth? I spent 2 months angry at you. Angry at what you did, how you did it, the lies and manipulation. Then one day, I woke up and realized I didn't care anymore. You're not my wife. You're not my problem. You're just someone I used to know who made terrible choices and now has to live with them. I made those choices because I was unhappy with you. No. You made those choices because you're selfish. Because you wanted excitement and validation without having to do the work of actually fixing a marriage. You wanted an easy exit with maximum profit. It didn't work out. That's on you. So, you won't help me. She looked up, hope flickering. I didn't say that, I said. I'll give you one thing. Advice. You're a grown woman. Figure it out. Get a job and accept the truth that you've screwed up. She stood up, face red with anger and embarrassment. You're enjoying this. You're enjoying watching me suffer. No, I'm just done caring. There's a difference. I hope you remember this when you need help someday. I will, I said. And I'll handle it myself, like an adult. After she left, I sat in my office for a long time. Beth knocked eventually. You okay? Yeah, actually, I am. What did she want? Money? Help? Someone to blame. Did you give it to her? No. I gave her reality instead. Beth smiled. Good for you. That night, I went to Isaac and Nina's house for dinner, brought food, and actually stayed for dessert. We played board games with the kids. Normal, boring family stuff. It felt good. The next morning, I woke up early and went for a run. Something I hadn't done since before the divorce started. The neighborhood was quiet, sun just coming up, everything still and peaceful. At the shop, Terry called about expansion. More vehicles, more revenue, more work. My collision shop was growing faster than I'd planned. Heather had tried to destroy me. Instead, she destroyed herself. I wasn't going to waste any more time feeling bad about that. I'd built a good life once. I'd do it again. And this time, I'd build it for myself. No compromises, no sacrifices for someone who didn't appreciate them. Just me, my life, my friends, and whatever came next. That was enough.